Hey everyone, it's Deja from Knit and Crochet Ever After. Today we are making this kids hooded scarf. This is called the Sweet Striped Scarf for obvious reasons. It is sized for a child, but I'm going to give you tips on how to size it for an adult. So if you want to make it bigger or longer, bigger hood, whatever it may be, I'm going to tell you how to do that. But for now we're going to be using some worsted weight yarn, a 5.5 millimeter USI hook, and you just need to download the pattern in the link.
Okay, so the first thing we're going to do for our scarf is put a slip knot on our hook. So I always take the tail at the bottom and just twist down and reach through to my working yarn, then pull that with the tail to tighten it, and then I use the working yarn to make it fit the hook. Okay, so we are making this a long scarf, so we're doing the length first, and then we're going to make it wider. So for that, we have to do a whole lot of chains. We're going to do 165 chains. So this is going to make it about 46 inches for, it's good for a little kid, but you can easily make this bigger by adding multiples of 4. So 169, 173, 177, just add multiples of 4 to make it as long as you want. And of course it'll take more yarn, so don't forget to get more yarn if you need it. But we just yarn over from back to front, turn our hook down, and then we can get through those chains nice and easy. And we're doing 165 using a long color changing yarn. So when we look at this yarn that I'm using, we can see big circles of color, which means that this is going to have a really long color change. You can look at the band and see pictures, and you can see there's some smaller ones, but some are really big and large, and that's going to be good for our scarf since we're making it lengthwise. You want long color changes. So all of these new cake yarns that they have out from lots of different manufacturers, these are going to be really good for this project. That's, if you want long stripes. If you don't want, then don't worry about it. You can make it a solid color. You can make it with speckled yarn, whatever you want. But if you want the long color changes, just make sure that when you're looking for the yarn, look for something that has a big section of each color. So we'll continue on with our 165 chains. You can use stitch markers every once in a while, maybe put it in every 10 chains, every 20 chains, just so if you lose count, you don't have to go and start over and recount everything. But we'll get to 165 and then we'll come back and do our first row instructions. Okay, I've got my 165 chains all laying here, smushed up, and I'm going to start with row 1. So I'm going to be working not in my back loop, which is kind of common when you're working into your foundation chain, but I'm going to turn my work over and I'm going to work into these bottom bumps. So if you look, you can kind of see this vertical dashed line. Those are my bottom bumps. And when I work into those, it leaves the top 2 loops unworked in my foundation chain, and it gives it a nice edge. So it's up to you. You don't have to. You can just work into the back loop. That's kind of the common thing to do. But if you want just a little bit of a nicer edge to your scarf, go ahead and work in the back loop. So I am starting in the 5th chain from my hook, and I'm going to double crochet. So I'm going to yarn over first before I start counting these out. And what you can do, you can either use your back loop to count out 5 and then turn it over and work into the bottom bump, or you can turn it over to start with. So you can see this yarn is not a bottom bump. This is my very first bottom bump where it actually comes out. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Takes a little bit extra work to figure these out and to work into them, but it really makes a nice edge on your scarf. But if it's too hard for you to see it, if you're brand new, don't worry about it, just work into your back loop. So we're going to do 3 double crochets in that bottom bump. So the first one, we pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the second, then I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to go back in. So I just kind of pull on it to try to find the loop if I can't see it well. It's gigantic right now, so I can see it very easily. So I'm going to do another double crochet, yarn over, pull through the first two, yarn over, pull through the second two, and I'm going to do one more. And these are creating what I call my little tulips. I don't know why I call them tulips, but they're like little flowers. So now I need to skip 3 chains. So again, I'm in my bottom bump, and now it's facing up. So I'm not really looking at the top of my stitches anymore. I'm just looking at the bumps. So I have my very first one here. So they're just little straight lines is what you're looking for. Here's my second one. Here's the third one that I'm skipping. And then here's my next one. And I'm going to single crochet. I'm not doing anything to get over there. I'm not chaining or anything. I'm just going straight into a single crochet. And that's going to bring my little flower over. So it leans now. Then I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to do some more double crochets in the same chain as that single crochet was made. So I'm not going to my next stitch. I'm going back into that same stitch that I just made that single crochet, and I'm going to do another 3 double crochets. So it's pretty easy to find that loop because it's nice and big from pulling on the single crochet. The yarn over, insert back in, pull up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2. Got one more. Now you can see I have 2 slanted. Well, once I single crochet this one down, it's going to slant. But that's what I'm doing, is that I am going to skip 3 chains again. So again, I'm looking at my bottom bumps here. So that was the last one. So here's 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to single crochet into that 4th one. And then I'm doing the same thing again. Chaining 3, 1, 2, 3, and double crocheting 3 times in that nice big stitch there. So let me show you what the foundation chain is looking like after I do these 3. Actually, I'm going to do my single crochet so it kind of anchors it down. So here's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So now when I look at the bottom of my scarf, I have this nice V edge. So I call it the V edge because all of these little stitches look like V's stacked on top of each other. So it's just a little cleaner, little nicer looking than working into your back loop. And this is all that we're doing all the way across. When we get to the end, I'll come back and we'll do the very last stitches together so you can see how you end the row. But you're just going to do 3 double crochets into where you made that single crochet. Then we're going to skip 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, single crochet in the 4th, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then double crochet 3 times back in that same stitch. Pretty darn easy. The hardest part is just finding the stitches, especially if you're not used to looking for bottom bumps. So that could be the most difficult part, but just make sure that you're only skipping 3, otherwise your stitch count at the very end or your stitches will be off a little bit, but we can always just kind of goof it. If you accidentally skipped an extra one and you're down at the very end when we come back and you only have 2 and you need 3, don't worry about it. You're not going to notice it. You can just go on to the next row because we're working into these tulips, so it's not like a super stitch count is super important, but you'll see what I mean when we go. So just keep on doing those little slanted flowers and we'll meet up at the end of row 1. I've gotten all of my flowers done. I'm at the very last chain, or 3 chains that I'm skipping and then working into the last one. So this is where if you somehow missed one or have an extra one, it's not a huge deal because all we're doing is single crocheting in the very last chain. So if you have 1 extra or 1 few, you can see I have 1, 2, 3, and 4. If you have 5 or 3, don't worry about it. Just do your single crochet because we're not working into these. So it's not a big deal if you're just slightly off, because that's going to save you a whole lot of trouble than having to undo this whole thing and see where you missed a stitch. So do not worry about it. It is not, you won't notice it, at the very end. So now we are ready for row 2. Okay, so for row 2, this is what we're doing for ever now. So this is the basics of what we are doing for the rest of this scarf. It's super easy. We're going to chain 4 to begin with. So yarn over, just pull through, do 4 of those. Now we are going to start doing tulips or flowers the other way. So we're going to do 3 double crochets in that very first chain we made. So we did 4 chains, that very first one, wherever you want. You can do the back bump or whatever you like. I'm going to do the back bump just to keep it nice looking. Do 3 double crochets there. So 1, go back in, it's nice and big to see the hole. 2, then 3. Then the instructions on the pattern, they're a little confusing because it says skip single crochet in 3 DC. This is very simple. It's just saying that you're skipping the single crochet we made and the 3 double crochets from the row below, and it's just doing that so that you can understand that we're going to work into this chain 3 space, and we're just doing a single crochet in there. So you're reaching all the way through. Don't worry about catching loops. Just grab the whole thing, single crochet, and then we are repeating what we did on the row before. We're going to chain 3, and then in that same space we're going to go ahead and do 3 double crochets. So it's all around that chain 3 space. Super easy. So it tells you to DC 3 times in the same chain space as the last single crochet. So now you can see we have the last row going this way and this row going this way. And that's all we do. We skip this stuff. We go to our chain 3 space, nice and easy to work into. Do a single crochet, chain 3, go back into our nice gigantic hole of a space and do 3 double crochets. Easy, right? So you got 3 again, one more time before we go on our own. Skip everything, go to the next chain 3 space, single crochet, chain 3, and double crochet 3 times. So nice and easy. We'll come back at the end of the row so you can see what we're going to do. Make sure you understand it. But this is what we're doing pretty much for the entire scarf. But I'll come back at the end of this row and we'll kind of meet up in the middle and stuff. So just keep it on. Finish the second row, and just like the first row at the very end, all we're doing is a single crochet. So we're already leaning that way. We just need to go under this beginning chain 4. So remember how we skipped we skipped 4 chains and we worked into the 5th chain. We're just going to do a single crochet into that big chain 4 spot. And then we're done with row 2. So row 3 is just the same exact thing. We're going to chain 4, then we're going to do 3 double crochets into that very first chain. 1, 2, 3, and then we're just going into those chain 3 spots again. We're single crocheting into the next one, chain 3, double crochet 3 times. Same old, same old. I will do about 4 or 5 rows because we're just going to copy that over and over again so that you can see what the edge is looking like and how it's turning out with the alternating flowers or tulips, and show you the progress and show you kind of how the color is changing on this yarn to see if you like this yarn and want to get some of it as well. Otherwise, you know, any long color change worsted will work, but I'll come back in a little bit and show you what we have. Oops, I'm totally doing weird stuff here. Pay no attention. Okay, so I've finished 8 rows so far. It's really easy to count because you're just counting your tilted flowers here. So we can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. I like how this is striping. It's kind of its own random stripe. I'm gonna get a pretty good amount of red probably as well when I'm working my next couple rows. So I'm going to 12 rows wide and then I'll do the finishing. This is another thing that you can customize. So just like you add 4 stitches, you know, as many as you want to make the scarf as long as you want, you can also make it as wide as you want. So the 12 rows is more for like a child's head, but you might want a bigger hood, or, you know, for whatever reason, just keep making rows for as long as you want to go, and then come back and I'm going to show you how to put the edge on this edge so that it's good to go. So I'm going to go do another 4 rows until I get to the end of row 12, and then I'll come back and show you our finishing row. Okay, I'm on the very last stitch of row 12, so I'm just doing my single crochet, and now I'm ready for my finishing edge. So if you're making this wider, just keep going till you like the size of it, and then do this last one at the very end to give you kind of a straight edge on both sides. So the first thing we're going to do is chain 4 again. So just do normal chain 4, and then we're going to skip it, as the pattern says, skip the SC, skip the 3DC. We're just going to single crochet in that big chain 3 space again. And that's all we're going to do across. We're going to chain 3, and then we're going to single crochet in that chain 3 spot. So this is going to give us pretty much a mirror image of our foundation chain that we had along the bottom. So you can see how it's kind of coming together here. So chain 3, single crochet. Very easy, very quick. Then once you finish the row, just fasten off and weave in all your ends, and then we'll come back and make the hood. Okay, so I decided to block the scarf. It didn't really need it. Some of the yarn that you may use might definitely need to be blocked. If you see that, you know, your motifs aren't, or the little flowers aren't laying very flat, or your edges are curling, then you might want to block it. But I had just gotten these new blocking mats, so I wanted to try them out. They're from Wool Love. I have a review on those as well. You can click on the link to check it out. But I wanted to just see how it worked out and give this a little bit of a blocking before I sew the hood up. One thing that I was not expecting is that it wasn't very color fast. So the red, the water was pretty pink when I took it out, and I think I can see like a little bit of the red in these 3 colors. It's not as noticeable in the orange, but I don't know if it was this noticeable before. I guess when I go to, you know, make the video, I'll be able to tell a little bit better, and when this dries, I'll be able to tell. But it kind of ran a little, so be careful if you're using the same yarn. Maybe not block it, but any other yarn, hopefully it's not going to run when you block it. But once this gets dry, I'll come back and we'll sew. Okay, I finished blocking the scarf, and now I'm ready to sew it up to make the hood. To make the hood, I cut a length of the yarn that I finished in so that it would be the same color. And what I'm going to do is I just folded it in half, so you can see I just folded it straight down the middle. And then I'm going to take my tape measure. I'm going to measure out 8 inches. So depending on your head, if you're making this bigger for like an adult, you might want to go bigger on the hood. Just put the, you know, the tape measure to your head and see what's going to work best for you. And then I'm going to use a stitch marker to just kind of mark off the 8-inch mark so that I don't have to keep track as much when I'm sewing, so I don't have to keep going back and measuring. So now I know, just sew till you get there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mattress stitch this. So let me get my needle. And mattress stitching kind of creates a really flat seam, pretty much invisible when it's all said and done, and it's not too difficult. So since I have some nice V's from the tops of my stitches, it will be very easy to do my mattress stitch. If you need like a really slow tutorial on it, you can go to the mattress stitch tutorial. Otherwise, I'm going to kind of run through it quickly while we do it. So to start off, I'm just going to put my yarn under. So I have 2 stitches here. This is right where the fold is. There's 2 V's, and I'm just going to work under 1 loop of each V rather than like going under both, because this is a lot of chaining. I'm like way out of center here. Let me move over a little bit, sorry. Since it's a lot of chaining, I can't really go under both. It's going to mess everything up. So I'm going to go under 1 loop each. as I work this. So to start off, I'm just going to go under both of them where my bend is to just start off. And I'm going to leave a tail that I can weave in. And then I'm just going to start mattress stitching. So what you do is you go up to your next stitch that your yarn came out of. So the next V right above, I'm going to go under that one loop. And then I'm going straight across to that inner, so I'm doing the inner loops, that inner loop of the stitch right across. Pull and pull and pull. I probably put too much yarn, but I'm always afraid of running out. You really don't need this much yarn to sew up 8 inches. Now to do the next stitch of our mattress stitch, we go up to the next stitch from the yarn that's on this side. So we came out this side, now we're going up to the next stitch on the same side, and then going across to that inner loop and pulling on it. And then again, we came out this side, then we're going to go to the next stitch on the same side, go under that one loop, and then go across to the other loop. And this is what we do all the way through. And you kind of want to just kind of grab both ends and give them a tug as you go. It's almost going to create like a straight line by the time you're done. So when you're pulling on it, you're pulling it straight. It doesn't make it bunch up. It just kind of makes sure that the seams are touching nice and close as we're doing it. So I'm going to keep going. Again, if you need a better video on the mattress stitch, just head over to the video and it'll go much slower and show you in contrasting yarn what it looks like. Okay, I'm on my last stitch here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to weave these in, but just so you can see how the seam looks. So you can see if you want a mattress stitch, you can do any kind of join you want. You can do a slip stitch, a single crochet, whatever you want, but this mattress stitch, and you'll see I kind of pull on it. Nothing moves, no matter how hard I pull, it doesn't bunch up or anything, like you might get with like a whip stitch or something. But whatever you like best, but when I flip it, because usually you want to turn it to the other side after you seam, you can see that it just kind of looks like the chain stitches are laying side by side, and there is no gap, no bulge, no stitches sticking out. You know, it's nice and comfortable when you're wearing it. It just is a nice join. So whatever join you like, go ahead and do. I'm going to weave in these ends and then we'll come back and take a look at the finished product. The scarf, wove in all the ends. I just have it kind of on this little model so you can see what it looks like, you know, the hooded portion. This is obviously like an adult size head, so you would probably want to do at least 4 more rows. You know, if you wanted it to kind of hang down a little bit, or even more if you want it more of a hood style. But you can kind of see the size difference of the kid versus the adult head, and the length also. The length is nice and short so that you can kind of just tuck it into a kid's jacket and not have to worry about a million loose ends. If you were doing it for an adult, I'd probably make it a lot longer just so that they have options on how they want to wear it. But that is it. If you have any questions, leave them below, and thank you for watching.